12,000 years ago, humans were hunter-gatherers. We followed animal migrations. We lived in temporary shelters. We had language, tools, art, but no cities, no writing, no civilization. Then, almost overnight, in evolutionary terms, everything changed. Within just 3,000 years, humans built the pyramids, developed mathematics, created written language, organized into complex societies with laws, trade networks, and astronomical observatories. How did we go from caves to civilizations in the blink of a cosmic eye? The answer might not be what you learned in history class, and it might not even be entirely human.
The standard archaeological narrative goes like this. Around 10,000 BCE, humans discovered agriculture. Farming meant staying in one place. Permanent settlements became villages. Villages became cities. Cities needed organization. Organization required writing. And boom, civilization. It's logical. It's gradual. It's evolutionary. But when you look at the actual evidence, something doesn't fit. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, built 11,600 years ago by people who supposedly had no agriculture, no writing, no complex social organization, yet they somehow coordinated hundreds of workers to carve massive T-shaped pillars weighing up to 20 tons, arranged them in sophisticated circular patterns aligned with constellations, and decorated them with intricate carvings of animals and symbols. Then they buried the entire site, deliberately, and disappeared. In Egypt, the Sphinx shows water erosion patterns suggesting it's thousands of years older than mainstream archaeology admits. In South America, Caral Supe appears fully formed in 3000 BCE with sophisticated architecture and no apparent predecessor. Civilization doesn't emerge gradually in the archaeological record. It erupts suddenly, simultaneously, across the globe. Sumer in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley in Pakistan, ancient Egypt along the Nile, the Norte Chico in Peru, all arising within a few centuries of each other, separated by thousands of miles of ocean and desert, all displaying similar advanced knowledge, astronomy, mathematics, megalithic architecture, and stories of gods from the sky who brought them wisdom. What if civilization didn't evolve? What if it was activated?
Let's start with a timeline that nobody talks about. Around 12,800 years ago, Earth experienced a catastrophic event. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis suggests a comet or asteroid struck the North American ice sheet, triggering immediate climate chaos. Temperatures plummeted, megafauna went extinct, sea levels rose dramatically as ice melted. Every ancient culture has flood myths. The Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah's Ark. Hindu texts describe Manu surviving a great deluge. Chinese legends speak of a world-destroying flood. Native American, Aboriginal Australian, and Polynesian traditions all describe the same cataclysm. Geological evidence confirms it.
Core samples show a massive flood event around 11,600 years ago. Ancient coastlines now lie hundreds of feet underwater. Entire civilizations could have existed on those submerged continental shelves. Advanced civilizations. Graham Hancock's research points to a potential lost civilization, a seafaring, astronomically advanced culture predating known history. When the floods came, survivors scattered to different continents, refugees with knowledge, and they began teaching. In every location where civilization suddenly appears, local legends describe culture bearers, advanced beings who arrived after a great disaster and taught humans agriculture, architecture, astronomy, and writing. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki. The Egyptians spoke of the gods of the first time. Mesoamericans described Quetzalcoatl and Viracocha, bearded teachers from across the sea. Hindu texts mention the Saptarishis, 7 sages who preserved knowledge through the cataclysm. Same story, different names, global distribution. These weren't gods, they were survivors. Engineers and astronomers from an older world desperately trying to preserve their knowledge by seeding it in primitive human populations scattered across the post-flood Earth. They taught agriculture, not wild grain domestication over millennia, but deliberate cultivation of specific crops: wheat in Mesopotamia, rice in Asia, maize in the Americas, all appearing suddenly in the archaeological record. They taught astronomy, building megalithic observatories that tracked precession, solstices, and celestial events with mathematical precision. And they taught writing, giving humans the tool to preserve knowledge across generations. Then, their mission complete, they vanished from history, leaving only myths and monuments.
The evidence of knowledge transfer is everywhere once you know what to look for. Take mathematics. The Sumerians didn't develop their base 60 number system gradually. It appears fully formed in the first written records, a system so sophisticated we still use it today for measuring time and angles. Where did it come from? Ancient Egyptian architecture demonstrates understanding of pi, the golden ratio, and precise astronomical alignments, concepts that supposedly took centuries to develop, yet appear in the first pyramids. The Antikythera mechanism, that 2,000-year-old Greek computer that tracked celestial mechanics, doesn't represent the culmination of technological development. It appears suddenly, with no simpler predecessors. Then the knowledge is lost for over a millennium. This is the pattern of taught knowledge, not evolved knowledge. When a teacher disappears, students can maintain, but not always advance what they've learned. Consider megalithic architecture. From Peru to Egypt to Cambodia, ancient civilizations built with massive stones weighing hundreds of tons, cut with precision that challenges modern tools, fitted so perfectly you can't slide paper between them. These techniques appear at the beginning of these civilizations, not as culmination. The earliest Egyptian pyramids display the greatest precision. Later ones are inferior imitations, technology moving backward, not forward, like students attempting to recreate what teachers once demonstrated. Or look at the astronomical alignments. Göbekli Tepe's pillars mark the position of stars 11,600 years ago with perfect accuracy. The Great Pyramid aligns to true north within 1/15 of a degree. Angkor Wat in Cambodia mirrors the constellation Draco as it appeared in 10,500 BCE, 8,000 years before it was built. These ancient architects weren't just building temples, they were encoding cosmic time, creating markers that say, "We were here, we knew this, we wanted you to know when we knew it." They were preserving a timestamp of when the knowledge was received. But perhaps the most compelling evidence isn't in stone or mathematics, it's in genetics. Around 10,000 years ago, right when civilization begins, human DNA shows a mysterious bottleneck followed by rapid population expansion and something else. The sudden emergence of lactose tolerance in adults, blue eyes in Europeans, and high-altitude adaptations in Andean and Tibetan populations. Genetic mutations that usually take tens of thousands of years appear within a few millennia. What if the culture bearers weren't just teaching? What if there was genetic exchange, accelerated human evolution through interbreeding with a more advanced human subspecies, survivors of that older world? Ancient texts are full of stories about gods mating with humans, the Nephilim in Hebrew tradition, the demigods of Greece, royal bloodlines claiming divine ancestry across every ancient culture.
Stand back far enough and a pattern emerges that's impossible to ignore. Within a narrow window between 10,000 and 3000 BCE, advanced knowledge appears simultaneously on every inhabited continent, not spreading gradually from one center, appearing everywhere at once. Same knowledge. Astronomy, sophisticated enough to track precession, a 26,000-year cycle. Architecture that manipulates multi-ton stones. Mathematics based on geometric principles. Agricultural packages of domesticated crops optimized for different climates. Writing systems to preserve it all. And the same message carved in stone from Peru to Egypt to Indonesia. We survived the flood. We rebuilt. Remember. The monuments aren't just buildings, they're time capsules, deliberately designed to outlast any future cataclysm, teaching tools for whoever comes after. The Great Pyramid isn't a tomb. No mummy has ever been found there. It's a mathematical encyclopedia. Its dimensions encode the size of Earth, the distance to the sun, the speed of light, pi to 15 decimal places. Göbekli Tepe's pillars mapped the sky 11,600 years ago, not when it was supposedly built, but when the cataclysm happened. It's a memorial, a monument to knowledge nearly lost. And we're only now learning to read these messages, because we're finally reaching a level of scientific sophistication that lets us recognize what they were trying to preserve. They were warning us and teaching us, because they knew what we're only beginning to suspect. It could happen again.
Today we're rediscovering what the ancients knew. Satellite archaeology reveals hundreds of lost cities beneath jungle canopy and desert sand. Ground-penetrating radar finds massive structures buried under known sites. LiDAR mapping uncovers entire civilizations hidden for millennia. The Amazon rainforest, supposedly pristine wilderness, shows evidence of sophisticated pre-Columbian cities housing millions. The Sahara Desert was green and populated 8,000 years ago. Antarctica's ice cores suggest the continent was ice-free in ancient times. We're realizing human history is far longer, far more complex, and far more globally connected than we thought. And we're recognizing that we might not be the first industrial civilization. We're just the first one with digital records. The previous one left stone, because stone survives what digital never will. Climate change, rising sea levels, increasing seismic activity, the same conditions that destroyed the pre-flood civilization are appearing again. Maybe that's why ancient knowledge is resurfacing now. We're approaching the technological level where we can finally understand it and use it. The ancients weren't primitive, they were us, survivors of their own near extinction, desperately encoding knowledge into monuments designed to outlast apocalypse.
and their message carved in stone, and star alignments and genetic memory finally makes sense. Civilization doesn't evolve naturally. It's hard-won, fragile, and easily lost.
So, how did ancient civilizations start? Maybe they didn't start. Maybe they restarted, rebooted by survivors of an older world who seeded their knowledge into humanity like a civilizational backup drive. We are the students of teachers we've forgotten, inheritors of knowledge we attribute to our own ingenuity. Living in cities, using mathematics, reading stars, all gifts from those who came before. And the monuments they left aren't relics of the past. They're messages to the future, our future, teaching us what they learned the hard way. Civilization is not guaranteed. Knowledge must be preserved, and we should always, always remember the sky. Because that's where the floods came from, where the teachers came from, and where, if we're wise enough to heed their warnings, we might eventually go ourselves, becoming the culture bearers for whatever primitive civilizations we might find among the stars. The cosmos is full of mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about human history. This channel exists to explore them, to connect ancient wisdom with modern discovery, and ask the questions that make us rethink our place in cosmic time. Subscribe to Myths of the Cosmos, because understanding how civilization started might be the key to ensuring ours survives. Until next time, look to the stones. They remember what we've forgotten.